Hey heathens! In a previous video, I covered an ad that tried to speak out against gay marriage. In the responses, and this is nothing new, we've heard the same old stuff over and over again, but in the responses we got a lot of the same old stuff, and I wanted to respond to a few of them. This comes in three parts as far as how I will rebut these people that are commenting here. And let's go ahead and start with number one. If we allow gay marriage, what's next? The old slippery slope fallacy. They bring up things like, well, what else are you going to allow? And they love to point out bestiality and incest and all these other things. Well, let's just start with bestiality. See, I don't think that bestiality could possibly become a legal marriage ever, because animals can't sign the marriage certificate. Animals can't, give their consent. So that's just stupid to begin with. All right. On other things, this idea of slippery slope. What about polygamy? We're going to come back to that on part 3. But just understand that trying to compare two people that want to do something that does not involve you at all, it does not affect your life at all, and then comparing it to something that, while it also doesn't affect your life at all, isn't even remotely the same. All we're simply trying to say is that if two consenting adults want to, on their own volition, have a pact with each other that they are going to be one couple for the rest of their lives, that they should be allowed to do that the same way that you have, and then have the same legal rights that you as a married couple would have, being that they too are a legitimate couple. So I don't see where you would have that with anything else. I don't see how you could have that with something like bestiality or some of the other silliness that's in there. I will go ahead and we move on to number 2 to address the other things. Consenting adults versus harmful practices. Things like incest usually have something to do with sexual abuse. Okay? No daughter wants to marry her father. No child wants to have sex with an adult. Okay, children don't have sexual thoughts unless they've been sexually abused. Okay, this is just the way that it is. I'll say 99.99999% of the time. Again, maybe there is a rare case, but in all reality, kids don't have sexual thoughts, and so this idea of allowing something like that to happen is rare. Only in places like the Bible do we find Lot's daughters wanting to have sex with their husband, with their father. You don't find this in reality. Okay, it's just not something that's there. If something like that were to exist, it is something psychologically detrimental to someone else, and you really wouldn't look at that the same way as, again, two consenting adults doing something that they both agree on that does not affect your life. Again, you lose here. You cannot say that there's any kind of correlation between the two events. And that brings me to the last one, and that is, who are you to judge? Which I've already touched on a little bit, and it brings me to the last one that I like to bring up, and that's polygamy. Me personally, I don't see a need for me to have more than one wife. I like the relationship that I'm in. Gives me all the headaches that I could possibly ever want as far as having a single relationship, and that takes enough work. I can't possibly imagine trying to have two. Not to mention the fact that I like the intimacy that having my one-on-one relationship with my wife provides me, and I wouldn't want to mess that up by adding in a third person to get in the way. So I like the idea of a single marriage, but at the same time, if it works for you, so what? Again, none of my business what you do behind closed doors, so I don't see where it's any of my business what you do. I will add that I think that with polygamy, perhaps the legal side, the advantage you get should only apply to your first wife, and it doesn't continue on. Much like, there was a limit that was placed on welfare, where after the second child there was no additional benefit added in, to try and put a cap on that. I think that okay, fine, you get to choose your first wife, and you get the legal end of and all the discounts and all that, but you don't get additional discounts for the next one and the next one and the next one. That's all fine and dandy. But what I love about this whole thing is that this whole issue, for the vast majority of all of it, is coming from the Christian right. They're the ones so adamantly opposed to gay marriage. And for them to bring up polygamy makes me laugh my ass off, because when you look at the Bible, all you see is polygamy. Over and over and over and over and over and over again, as you read through it, you find polygamy, and it is perfectly okay in the Bible. So if you want to try and play off that, well, what about polygamy? Apparently it was okay in the Bible. So why are you opposed to it? So again, who are you to judge? So anyway, just adding my little extra bits onto this conversation. Don't take my word for it. Think for yourself.